Hello audience, Mr. Z here with an alternate history scenario my good pal George Smith helped me create. The popular cosmic horror writer H.P. Lovecraft has gained significant following in recent years, and in tandem so has what is now one of his most popular books, The Call of Cthulhu. So today we're going to explore the question of what if Cthulhu was real. Cthulhu is one of many elder gods which exist in the pantheon created by Lovecraft, and like the pantheons and cultish followings we have in our world, they have been worshipped by numerous secret societies, and in this case, for centuries. We'll be taking the scenario from about 1945. Germany has surrendered and the war with America and Japan is still raging. Meanwhile, police forces from all across the world start to find evidence of cult-like groups that seem to all pray to the same pagan god. Over time, arrests are made and shocking connections are found that these groups don't consist of one particular demographic or group, but seem to consist of everyone from the homeless to the highest members of society. Cells separated by hundreds of miles and countries apart are all bearing striking similarities and all chanting an identical chant. Cthulhu waits dreaming. Back in the Pacific, a military research team is attempting to conduct surveys of the ocean floor as part of a new underwater weapons project when a shocking discovery is made. An entire city known as Erlier. The researchers would likely deem this some type of Pacific Atlantis. The city consisted entirely of green stone and building techniques that are completely unique and unlike any other found on Earth. A massive temple-like structure dominates the island and was clearly crucial to the city's society. But before further research could be carried out, the city startlingly rises from the sea, forcing the US to quickly set up a blockade to prevent other nations in that region from identifying the anomalous city and claiming the land for themselves. Japanese intelligence would perceive this mobilization of US troops as some type of strategic positioning potentially for a new weapon, and gather further intel only to discover the truth of the perplexing situation, leading Japan to attack the US blockade of the island for further examination itself. A naval skirmish ensues between the two fleets, but this fight is brought to a swift end when the city begins to tremble and quake, before the massive doors of the large temple open to reveal a monstrous creature of massive proportions. Possessing the body of a man with dark green skin and webbed appendages, a pair of large membranous dragon-like wings upon its back, and a head like that of an octopus, a writhing mass of tentacles and tendrils with piercing yellow eyes. As he emerges, his height would tower above even the tallest spire in the city. The elder god Cthulhu had awoken from his centuries-long slumber. The immediate and natural reaction would be shock, followed by fear, and ultimately with combined US-Japanese fleets opening fire upon the creature. But within moments, it would become clear that they had no effect. A sense of dread like no other would suffocate the fleet before they were, with much ease, wiped out. All across the Pacific, horrific and otherworldly creatures, being a ghastly blend of both man and fish, would invade every coast of every island, country, and continent, bringing with them death and brutality like none other. An unstoppable, unprecedented invasion force, relentless, unfeeling, and seemingly never-ending. An immediate truce is called between the US and Japan as they and all Pacific nations begin banding together to combat this cosmic horror. But it wouldn't be a simple matter of combat, as soon containment would become the only feasible solution. City after city would fall to the ghoulish hordes. Some citizens caught behind enemy lines would fight back. Many would hide, but most wouldn't survive. Eventually, Japan goes dark, and China confirms that the Japanese islands have been entirely engulfed by tsunamis, with what remains of the islands being occupied by the creatures. Times are getting desperate, and the global cults begin to grow in numbers, soon uniting to form the cult of Cthulhu, worshipping the creature and praising the awakening of the elder god. Months pass, and with much of the Pacific now obliterated, Cthulhu turns his attention westward toward the last force fighting against him, the United States. But after wiping out the Hawaiian Islands and making landfall in California, the US government is left with no choice but to launch a nuclear strike on American soil to put an end to the devastation. By this point in time, the US would have roughly 6 nuclear bombs ready for use, and it would put every one of them to use. As Cthulhu pushed past the Californian barricade, bringing his ghastly army with him, the US would prepare to unleash full nuclear onslaught upon the creature. Bomb after bomb would fall, yet still no effect. No matter what was thrown at the creature, it would not be harmed, and it could not be stopped. Panic would erupt nationwide. The government shifts direction from the offensive to the basest forms of defensive survival. There was no beating this creature. All that remained was the hope that we could survive its campaign of destruction. Every dollar would be invested into defensive research, from the creation of underground vaults to waiting things out in some type of airship. But all would prove fruitless as soon enough the entire continent is swallowed up by the Inhuman army. The shock of this would be felt the world over. Major powers did all they could to slow Cthulhu's advance, but everyone knew this was only delaying the inevitable. The British Royal Navy would fall, the British Isles consumed, and the European, African, and Asian continents invaded. Humanity's last moments would be reigned by fear and madness for whatever remained, and whoever escaped, Cthulhu would eventually find them, would reach to them through their dreams, every waking and slumbering moment dominated by terror. And that is where I'm going to end today's scenario. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more. Mr. Z, out.